Today we're going to be, looking at Nigeria's economy. An overview of, the economy. In the year 2024, of course, the year is gradually coming to an end, and we also understand that. Plans are underway, to let Nigerians know, the size of the budget, for the year 2024. So we're going to be assessing the proposed national budget of 47.9 trillion naira for the 2025 to 2027 fiscal year. And my guest, whom I'm expecting, is an economist. He is Yusho Aliyu, and I've been rightly informed that he's, very, very close. So I'm just going to start off, and as soon as he joins, storms the studios, then we'll take it, from his angle or perspective. Now, I am a more of a piece of summary, by the way, topping big news stories that made the rounds last week, Friday. The Federal Executive Council has approved a proposed national budget of 47.9 trillion naira for the 2025 fiscal year. Minister of Budget and Economic Planning, Atiku Bagudu, who disclosed this while briefing State House correspondents after the FEC meeting presided over by President Bola Tinubu, added that now, this was part of the medium-term expenditure framework, MTEF, for 2025 to 2027 and in line with Fiscal Responsibility Act of 2007. Now, consequently, the parameters for this proposal has been pegged thus. The crude oil benchmark at $75 per barrel and oil production at 2.06 million barrels per day. An exchange rate pegged at 1,400 naira to the dollar, and the government is targeting a GDP growth of 6.4%. Well, on Eagle's Outlook today, a critical analysis of this proposal vis-a-vis the outcomes of the 2024 budget of renewed hope. We charge you or encourage you to join the conversation as we engage with an economist who is on his way to the studios, Yusho Aliyu. And pending when he storms the studio, let's hear from you what your thought. As a matter of fact, I think there's been a lot of analysis. Over the weekend, economic experts, from different quarters had to do their own analysis, and some even tagged this, budget, proposal an ambitious one, especially, for the fact that there's been this level of economic hardship, in Nigeria. And it has actually exacerbated so many, how will I put it now? The expectations of, key policy decisions with regards to resuscitating Nigeria's, economy. However, I think from the presidency, they are still very optimistic that these policies have been able to yield some sort of, positive, gains, for the economy and for the nation at large. And on the other hand, the common or average man on the street will say that they are yet to feel the impact, of these key policy reforms. Now, the widespread debate on whether it can deliver, the promised economic relief or fall short is one thing that we're going to be looking at this morning on the show. But when you take a look at, the 2024 budget, yes, of course, it also sparked, reactions, of course. At the time it was, proposed and even, adopted last year. I remember at this time last year when deliberation, was ongoing with regards to, the 20... Of course, the budget for 2024, that's the year, under review, yes. A number of Nigerians actually expressed no reservations, with the amount that was actually pegged, to that budget. Of course, it was tagged budget of renewed hope, all right? And the year is gradually coming to an end. What has changed? Would you say that we've been able to record, some sort of gains from that budget? Was that budget really, has it been able to address, some of the shortcomings, the deficits that we have in our country or economy, Nigeria? And now pegging this at 47.9 trillion naira for the 2025 fiscal year. And we also understand that some amount of money would also be borrowed, right? To also fund, this budget, if at all. And some people actually have reservations, at the mention of, borrowing, money or taking loans. While it is not a crime or a taboo or completely out of place to take loans, I think another question would be how judicious, these monies will be used or spent at the end of the how would they be judiciously, utilized or managed or even spent in such a way that the lives of the of average Nigerians on the street, would actually change, for the better. Now, an economist named Bismarck Rwane has been, he was quite quick, to challenge, the optimism surrounding the budget. He serves as executive director of financial derivatives company, and he called, as a matter of fact, the $75 per barrel oil price unrealistic in the face of global uncertainties. According to him, I'd like to quote him, the benchmark should be closer to $65 per barrel to allow for fiscal flexibility. And he also warned, warned that in a situation whereby you're pegging, the what's it called now, the barrel, per day oil price at $75, and then at the end of the day things don't work out that way, it would actually, bring about some sort of pressure, right, on the economy. And he linked that to, overestimating revenue in a volatile global market, especially with the emergence of, the president-elect Donald Trump in the United States. I think that's another perspective we're also going to bring into this conversation today. With the emergence of the president-elect Donald Trump in the United States, what would that, portend, for Nigeria's, economic reforms, and, in terms of taking loans and what have you. You also take a look at fiscal flexibilities, which also refers to the government's ability to adapt its spending plans in response to changes in revenue. By setting a more conservative oil price benchmark, the government ensures it doesn't rely too heavily on high oil prices to fund its budget. Now, these are the thoughts of, Bismarck, right? Bismarck Rwane, an economist. And he even went further to say that in the event that oil prices fall, a lower benchmark like $65 per barrel provides a cushion, allowing the government to adjust its spending without making drastic cuts to essential programs such as infrastructure and job creation. And for him, without this flexibility, a sudden drop in oil prices could lead to a budget shortfall and force the government to borrow more or cut vital services. And that also translates, to the undue pressure, that would be on the government in the long run if things don't actually happen or go as planned. And now, borrowing 9.22 trillion naira to fund the budget has also raised alarm bells. While borrowing is not inherently problematic, the issue lies in how the funds will be utilized. A capital market analyst by the name Oyekan Idris said, if funds don't go into productive sectors like infrastructure and job creation, we're just piling on debt with no real results. And he went further to say that for many, the failings of the 2024 budget remain a fresh wound. That budget pegged at 27.5 trillion naira, of course, with an exchange rate assumption of 750 naira to 800 naira, failed to shield Nigerians from rising inflation, worsening poverty, and skyrocketing food and fuel prices. That's right. Now, my guest, who is also an economist, is expected to shed more light on this, because one would want to say that we really cannot say that the 2024, budget of 27.5 trillion naira has not been able to yield, results. You take a look at the policies that have also been introduced, in the last 1 year. Of course, it boils down to the removal of fuel subsidy and how much has been saved, thus far. I think these are some of the sidelines, to this conversation as well. Now, critics are also noting that the actual exchange rate has since spiraled far beyond these projections, of 750 naira to 800 naira, as at last year before, that budget was, adopted or implemented. Now, the exchange rate, of course, we can see for ourselves today, has actually, surged beyond the projections of last year. And somehow, one would say that it contributed to economic woes for the average citizen. So, the urgency of prioritizing investment in areas that directly affect ordinary Nigerians is also very, very key. I think that's one thing that economists, or economic analysts have over the time, suggested, for the government of the day, to adopt. Because when you come up with a budget, with huge sums of amount of money, pegged or attached to it, it is expected that you have very realistic strategies, to ensure that this budget, no matter how huge it is, no matter how much you plan on borrowing to fund it, it would actually affect, or impact the lives of Nigerians positively and not negatively. My guest just walked into the studios, Yusha Aliyu. Thank you so much, for always obliging us whenever we call you.
Thank you, and I'm sorry behind schedule.
Yes, it's fine. It's fine. The proposed national budget of 47.9 trillion naira for 2025. This has actually been sparking a lot of reactions. A number of Nigerians or analysts, let me be very specific, economic analysts and observers are saying that it's quite an ambitious one. And taking, cognizance of the harsh economic reality on ground, will that really, be feasible for the government, at the end of the day? And then you look at the parameters, for this proposal, crude oil benchmark at $75 per barrel, oil production at 2.06 million, barrels per day, exchange rate at 1,400 naira to a dollar, and GDP growth of 6.4%. Just before you walked in, I just had to try to compare, what we had, last year, at this time last year, of course, when the 2024 budget, was still, being deliberated upon. And here we are, the year is almost coming to an end. And when we say that, it's about that time where we get to, bicker, go back and forth with regards to, the budget for the next year. But before I get your 2 cents on this, proposed national budget of 47.9 trillion for next year, how or what is your assessment of the 2024 budget? Because we just have to take a look at the year under review.
Taking a parameter to understand budget in 2024 has to go back to 2023 because it was a budget which was transitional budget in 2023 in the first instance, not by President Bola Ahmed Tinubu, but by Buhari.
Yeah.
But along the line, within the same year after the handing over ceremony, a new budget came in, a supplementary budget, making it X1 and X2 in 2023. However, in 2024, the first budget presented by President Bola Ahmed Tinubu,
Thank you.
No, in 2024.
Okay.
The budget presented by President
Bola Ahmed Tinubu,
right, was effective in January. But the same year also a supplementary was sent to the National Assembly and it was accented later. So when you take this X1, X2 2023, X1, X2 2024, and you take the budget performance, you realize that there is much to be done to get the growth target of the economy. What was highlighted, what was not even present in this parameter, which is very cogent, is what is the target of inflation? Because we are where we are, because if you can use 4.6 trillion in 2014 as a total budget of this country, after 10 years you are now making a budget of 47.9. Now if you check the difference in 10 years, you will ask yourself why, how. So, and the answer is simple. Inflation has eroded the capacity of individual, has eroded the capacity of the government, and therefore government need to put in so much of funds and has to scout for more money in an attempt to make economic policies visible and understanding and then favorable for prosperity measures. But if you take macroeconomics perspective, you realize that it is ambitious to have a budget of 47.9 trillion, but looking at the value of the money and what that money can do in respect to high inflation that has been increasing to above 32.7 to a present level. So you realize that, of course, we need to work hard, and also we need to avoid certain economic decision of even thinking of having a supplementary budget in 2025 for two reasons. One is that it is better we project the growth target, we project the inflation, we project the market price of our valuable goods that we are putting on the table for this budget work, we understand that we must remain consistent. If we remain consistent, our revenue projection, which is probably from the taxes and revenues of sales of crude oil plus borrowing, there must be borrowing. So if you understand that you must borrow, it means that you are operating a deficit budget. And that deficit budget is what is giving politicians and policymakers headache, because the larger the deficit, the larger the borrowing.
All right. It's actually good that you pointed out the fact that there is an absence of, strategy to tame inflation.
Yeah.
Even though we are projecting, a GDP growth of 6.4%.
Yeah.
I think inflation has somehow eroded, that target already for this year, because you recall also that the moment the president was sworn in last year, he also projected, this drastic or aggressive growth, in GDP, rate for the country. But what is going on is quite far from, that projection already. But somehow, if we're really going to do well, if this budget, proposed national budget of 47.9 trillion would actually bring about changes, I think one can easily tell, from the things that have already happened, this year, the economic activities, the policies, somersaults, the reforms, the gains, and of course, the losses that we've recorded.
The phantom of the budget is the first change that we have seen. 47. If somebody would tell me that in this period we are going to have a budget of 4.7, looking at the size of the economy, the GDP size of the economy, and looking at the debt crisis in the economy, I would say no. But it has come. That's the first change. So if you see a change, probably it may be a game changer. But obviously there won't be much changes, because if inflation remains the way it is, then definitely it's going to be the same with the pocket of individual, with the pocket of government. But if it remains high again, then definitely those who are wishing to have more jobs, the jobs will not be there. Because one of the side effects of high inflation is that it is discouraging consumption. If it discourages consumption, it will discourage sales. If it discourages sales, that is why Manufacturing Association of Nigeria are complaining of goods over 2.1 trillion that have been spoiled, because people that are supposed to have used them don't have the capacity to use them, not just because they don't have income, but what is coming to you will not allow you to have A, B, C, and D. You have to make choice, and that is why scale of preference in economics is very important, and that is why individual also has to understand their priority, and that is why government itself has to also understand the priority of the economy at a given time, so that whatever injection you are putting in, you are putting it where it's going to translate to prosperity.
So, before I ask you, I really would love to know your level of optimism, whether this budget, would deliver or not. Let's take a look at, one of the, of course, we have a number of parameters here, pegged to this, the 2.06 million barrels per day, and the exchange rate pegged at 1,400 naira to the dollar. This was actually a bone of contention this time last year, and here we are. We've seen things for ourselves. The free fall of the naira continues.
Yes, you see, floating of the exchange rate has created a very serious dilemma in understanding the projection you are making. Whatever you project based on the existing realities, 1,400 may not be realistic. And that's the first thing, because you are today. What is the exchange rate at official capacity, and what is the exchange rate at the parallel market? And these two things are always determined by the supply of money, not by the central bank alone, but by the sharing formula of resources which ought to have been used for critical development of our economic sectors. That is one. Second, inflation remains high, and it continues to be higher for two reasons. There is existing shortages. When you have shortages of supply, under elasticity concept of supply, when goods are not available and they continue to decrease, then definitely you're going to face shortages, and when you have shortages, there will be increase in prices, and that is what we are seeing. Most of the harvest farmers in 2024 is coming a mirage, because the rain, which is expected to continue until November ending, has stopped, and many rice farmers who are thinking that it will help their rice to get to high to the maturity, to the peak of maturity, many are losing. The same with beans producers and many others. And also we have seen how flooding has taken away farmland and has taken away a lot of people from their homes. So these are the challenges which is not only going to be attended by the federal government, but has to be attended by all tiers of government. Remember, the revenue sharing formula, we are expecting more cash to be supplied into the economy, because the 3 tiers of government are going to enjoy for the first time probably their releases according to the revenue sharing formula. And if that also exists, additional work goes to ICPC, additional works go to EFCC. These are going to determine how efficient the movement of these resources will be, not merely the bank, because the bank, its role is to make supplies, while the checks and balances has to do with other institutions that are meant to do them.
All right. Now, with regards to, the $75 per barrel, crude oil benchmark, how realistic is that?
It's realistic, that one, for 2 reasons. One, forget about Trump is coming. Trump is coming, is not going to share American fossils to the entire world.
Okay.
But remember that Putin and BRICS are joining hands together, and OPEC plus 1 is OPEC and Russia. And these are the people who are determining the price of crude in the world market. Saudi Arabia, Nigeria, Angola, Iran, these are good players in this oil industry. And at that 75, if you can sustain prices of crude oil for 6 months to be above 70,000, then there is no way they cannot sustain them in the next couple of months, for 2 reasons. One, the conflict, the Russian conflict will continue. The Hamas Israeli conflict will also continue. The Iran Israeli conflict will also continue. These are the determinant of what supply will be in the next couple of months. But however, it's not ambitious to put $75. Benchmark, as guided, is thinking that it is more flexible for government to go beyond that, but he has forgotten the fact that inflation has taken over the resources, and whatever inflation is taken away, you must find a way of putting on additional resources as injection to put on to the reality of executions of project and programs.
All right. And looking at oil production, we are really very optimistic and heavy on crude oil, but at the same time there have also been suggestions over the years that we look away from crude, right?
Okay.
Diversifying, or diversification, if you like. Oil production at 2.06 million barrels per day.
Yeah,
does that ring a bell?
It's ringing the bell, because there is stability in the oil production. There has been increase. Some of the bottlenecks that is facing that industry with the PIA, now we have seen a little bit of efficiency. And remember that even NNPC is going to be focusing more, and all eyes from the checks and balances from the national will be on the oil production, because if oil production, the production zone is safe and the OPEC target is not met, then what are we doing? The theft is organized theft, because you cannot be producing when you have a littered situation where you can understand what you are producing. So far NNPC has done well. We have seen improvement in the production, and that improvement has to be sustained, because 2 million barrels is not up to 30% of what Saudi Arabia is producing. Saudi Arabia is producing 10 million barrels per day. So what is wrong with us that we cannot produce 2 million? We have to be optimistic. I am optimistic.
But what exactly are the reasons why we cannot get to that peak?
There are a lot of factors. One is institutional. Do you understand?
Okay.
Second is security-wise. Third is attitudinal. People have been making more money in siphoning what is produced, and therefore they have the appetite of still siphoning that production. So, but when there are good checks and balances like the one we have at UAE, where you can digitally monitor all the production, now whoever thieves Nigerian money that is why BVN was successful. To trace whether Omofe 10 billion is credited into Omofe's account. These are good things to understand even in oil production. Digitalize the production process. The entire OPEC have digitalized their production and supply network. So what stops us from doing that? Except if there are crude attitudes, which is very difficult to deal with. But I think President Bola Ahmed Tinubu can do that because one, he has developed as a career man from that industry. Second, he has understood the politics within. Third, the PIA will guide him to produce more for Nigeria to have more revenues, and at the same time also not having more revenues to be free from more borrowings.
All right. Well, this is Eagles Outlook live on Eagles FM 102.3 Abuja, and we are assessing the proposed national budget of 47.9 trillion for 2025. The studio lines are open. You can call in to ask questions if you have any bothering your mind, or just share your thoughts on the topic of discussion. The numbers to call are 09087668888 or 09073530044. Hello, good morning. Hello. Hello, good morning. Hello. Are you there? Hello?
Thank you, Princess. Good morning.
Good morning to you. What's your name and where you're calling from?
It's Obasanjo calling you from Niger State, Amale.
All right, good to have you, Obasanjo. Please go ahead.
Our guest, good morning, sir.
Good morning, Mr. Obasanjo.
Thank you, sir. You're welcome to
Thank you.
Eagles FM. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, sir.
You will be listening to Nigerians and a call to Nigerians and a call to your government and address the issues disturbing Nigerians. Like you've been giving analysis of the budget of 2024. We don't know the achievement of the budget of 2024. I am not going to be biased, but what am I trying to say? I want to share my view. Nigerians are in pain with this budget. During Obasanjo, Yaradua, Goodluck, Jonathan, Nigerians were experiencing budget of 2-point-something trillion, 4-point-something trillion. Now today, Nigerian is ranking in the budget of 47.9 trillion, and the poor masses, the country is living in pain. What is this budget for? We want to know, what is this budget for? How do you achieve by this budget, sir? Thank you.
Thank you, Obasanjo, for that question. 09087668888 or 09073530044. You can also send a message or a voice note to the WhatsApp portal on 09097054450. It appears we're having all right. I think at this juncture you could just stick to calling 09073530044. Let's see if we can, just maintain the calls on that line, because the other one is, giving one a tough time at the moment. You can also drop your messages or voice notes, all right, on the WhatsApp portal. We'll take a quick break to pay some bills, and we'll be back in a moment to take more calls. To join us again.
Eagles 102.3 Abuja.
Wow, this feature phone is so good.
Which phone is that?
It is the itel 85627. It comes with a 2500 mAh battery 55 hours of standby use. Type-C charger, triple SIM slot, 3.0-inch screen, plus the 24 months warranty of worry-free use.
Huh? 24 months warranty?
Yes! Go and get yours. ITEL IT5627. New ITEL. New experience.
Have you heard of the latest car maintenance, overhaul and repair service center in Abuja?
Oh, wait a minute.
BB Empire Motor Services Limited is the place. We offer a wide range of services which include full engine repair, brakes and discs, lubrication, industrial spare parts fabrication, digital diagnosing, injector and rotor servicing, wheel balancing alignment, vulcanizing, spare parts of all cars, car checker, recovery of vehicles, AC servicing and repairs of all kinds of cars. You can visit us today at the state-of-the-art multi-digital workshop located at plot 1374 Cadastral Zone C16 along Julius Berger Road, Idu Industrial District, Abuja. You can also call us on 080-6433-3100 or 090-1066-0869. BB Empire Motor Services Limited, the solution for your car needs and services.
Please listen to this infomercial.
Hello Nigeria. Hello Africa. Do you want to work in the healthcare sector? Do you want to be a trained certified nursing assistant, medical assistant, or caregiver? If yes, then register to enroll for Push Africa's one-year diploma in certified nursing assistant training happening at the African University College of Science and Technology, Abuja. Targeted trainees are unemployed graduates, O-level or ordinary diploma graduates, or anyone interested in working as a support worker in the healthcare sector. For details, log on to www.pushafrica.org or WhatsApp 080-339-42015, 080-550-45801, 080-339-42015, 080-550-45801. For registration, pick up application form at our partner radio stations or visit the reception at the African University of Science and Technology, Abuja.
My people, the thing where they happen for my area, eh?
Do you think I will now find out that you have contract to bring fresh girls?
I brought you from the gutters. Who gave you all the connects? MDG who? Without me, you would have been nobody. But
Join Media Coalition and Awareness to Halt Human Trafficking, MICAT, on I Wish I Knew radio drama every Saturday at 10 a.m. Let us join hands and kick human trafficking out of our communities. I Wish I Knew radio drama, brought to you by MICAT in partnership with the National Agency for Prohibition of Trafficking in Persons, NAPTIP, and funded by the Embassy of Denmark in Nigeria.
Get the desired clients for your business and service and get your phones buzzing. From the 1st of September to the 31st of December, you can advertise and reach a large audience with the Eagles FM Ember Months package. Advertise on any of our platforms and get a whopping 30% discount. That's right, 30% discount. For more information, please call 080-5919-8658, 080-5919-8658, or 081-5791-7278, 081-5791-7278. The Eagles FM 102.3 FM Ember Package is a sure way to getting a wider clientele for your business and service.
Sorry for the inconvenience.
I suppose it was inevitable.
Eagles 102.3.
All right, thank you so much for staying with us. This is Eagles Outlook live on Eagles FM 102.3 Abuja, where we are actually assessing the proposed national budget of 47.9 trillion naira for the 2025 to 2027 fiscal year. The numbers to call us is 090-8766-8888 or 090-7353-0044. Send a message or a voice note to 090-9705-4450. Hello, good morning.
Good morning. How are you?
Very well, thank you. Could you please turn down the volume of your radio set?
Yeah, I'm doing best.
What's your name and where you're calling from?
My name is Kantiok. I'm calling you guys from New York. That's our stage.
All right. Please go ahead.
I want to seize this opportunity to say good morning to your resource person in the studio.
Good morning, sir. Thank you.
You have done justice to what is actually required in lieu of the national budget. But however, I want to have an addendum with respect to what you said earlier. The budget of 2025, which is to the tune of 7.9 trillion, I wished the government would do the needful. Budget of this kind are just the throw of figures on how to go about things, but the implementation happens to be the issue. Take for instance now, the X1, X2 budget of last year. The X2 was actually meant to cover mostly the increment of minimum wage. But as I'm talking to you now, in most of the ministries in Nigeria, federal parastatals, NDEs, no such things are not being implemented. So I am of the opinion that Nigeria should keep their ears to the ground for each and everything that is being outlined in that budget, that they should follow it to the letter till when it's implemented. Thank you, and God bless us.
All right, thank you very much. Thank you so much for that line of thought right there. I think at this juncture, you were trying to fix, one of the studio lines. So just keep calling us on 090-8766-8888 and 090-9705-4450. The other one is not, working at the moment. So let's just, stick to these lines, because I see calls still coming in on this particular line, and I don't know why one can't, take these calls. All right, but keep trying. I'm sure that you'll get across soon enough. All right. Okay. So I would like you to quickly react to, what Obasanjo said before we went on that commercial break.
Pardon me?
Yes. Obasanjo, he had to do a little bit of, comparison, with what was obtainable, I think, during the Goodluck Jonathan administration to what we have now, and whether or not these budgets, would actually yield the desired, result at the end of the day.
Budget is very important, and understanding the budget concept is also very important. We have a budget, by simple definition, is a projection of income and expenditure, and you have to design ways and means of getting that income, and you also have to design ways and means of executing the expenditure. In doing that, you have to understand whether your budget is a deficit budget where the expected expenditure outweighs the income, then you source for it, or is a surplus budget where your income exceed the expenditure, or whether it is a balanced budget where your estimated income is equal to the estimated expenditure. If I put the two questions from Mr. Obasanjo and the last caller, of course, X1, X2 for 2023, X1, X2 for 2024. The X2 of 2024 is to take care of payment of minimum wage. But one thing about operational modalities of budget is that it has to go with the anticipated income at a particular time. And the government has to draw a cash plan. Drawing a cash plan will bring priorities of the government. So if, for instance, you have 7 components that are in X2, the government has to choose which one is priority to the government at a critical time. Is it payment of security bills or payment of salary arrears? Do you understand? This is where sometimes we are getting it wrong. Okay. And that is why some of us, or myself, I don't want a situation where you have X1 and X2 budget. I just prefer to have an X1 because you have ample time to understand the working of the economy. Finish the budget. Allow budget officers to concentrate. Do you understand? But in a situation where budget officers are busy trying to implement X1 and at the same time they are asked to draw an X2 and then attention is now diverted where X2 will take priority and then abandon X1. These are some of the contending problems we are having in budget execution. And that is why I have said it times that number Omofe, since the budget which Buhari did in 2014, Goodluck Ebele Jonathan has finished a good budget of 4.6 trillion. Buhari came and I said, please, if Buhari will hear my advice, please start your working of budget quickly. Execute what he has started because you have ample time to put through a good budget, monitor it, and then execute it. But alas, Buhari in November brought a budget which was hijacked by the National Assembly to include when they saw that Buhari is paying only subsidy in that. Which, did you understand? So it is good for policymakers to understand the domestic challenges that you normally have. I'm not surprised when I saw 47.9 trillion.
Yes.
If you take the review of Abuja review of contract from Abuja to Kano, the finishing, not the entire project, engulfing 740 billion, you will not hesitate. This is just some kilometers taking away that
huge amount
of money. And remember, Kaduna Zaria is being completed. Kano Zaria has been completed. Part of Abuja from Kaduna Road Suleja to probably Dikko Junction, and then from Tapa to another junction. The road, the jobs have been completed. So only the remaining kilometers is taking 740 billion. And that is why I said one of the parameters which must be looked into in execution of the budget is the inflationary trend that will be a challenge to the execution. However, government also has to expedite action because purchasing power has been eroded. The only thing to bring that power back to people is you give them what is due for them, especially now that we are in November. We only have December. The 2024 budget life will expire.
Yeah.
And we are expecting also this, since MTEP has agreed, has come with 47.7. So all our borrowing plans has been contained in fiscal responsibility, as you highlighted. I am expecting the National Assembly too to be more nationalistic in looking at the project content of the budget.
Over time we've seen budget padding, cases of budget padding, and some of these discrepancies here and there, and somehow it boils down to the poor budget planning that one would say we are somewhat used to in this country. Would you say if this is well looked into, this would be able to perhaps restore the confidence of Nigerians with regards to the policies of government and in cases like this budget proposals?
Omofe, one thing that will bring confidence of people, I cannot just go and tell my child you are not hungry and expect that child who is hungry to look at me with a reasonable character. The same thing applies to government. What is required from the budget is to bring collective prosperity. That collective prosperity is simple to understand and implement. The size of the budget speaks volume. 47.9, nearly 48 trillion for an economy of 250 million people, 36 states. This is only federal budget. What if you quantify the 36 state budgeting system, and then you quantify also the 740 local government budget system? It means a lot of resources. Then where is it? And what is the implementing strategy? And government also need to be proactive, not just printing on a web page the budget performance. Somebody should be speaking to Nigerians in the language they understand. that in first quarter, we have succeeded in achieving 10% of our growth of our implementation target. In second quarter, we have achieved 48, because all this achievement has to do with the accruals before the expenditure. So, and it is not easy to collect taxes. Some taxes that you pay today may not be used today. It will be used later. Some of the revenues that is coming from outside, because of many debt engagement, is not coming in the right number, because you have to settle outstandings. Now, if you look at 2025 budget projection, all the parameters, you take the 1,400, which is not realistic.
All right.
Do you understand? You take the oil production, which is realistic. One important thing which you have to look, which will help you to understand, is debt servicing figure. What is the rate, and at what period, and what type of new debt or new loans are coming in for the federal and the state, so that the debt management office, the National Assembly, can sit down and look at who and who is qualified, who and who not qualified, not just merely on political considerations. It is very important, because as we discussed last week, some governors outcry that previous administration blah 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 blah. I don't want to dwell into that, because a politician is a politician. I am an economist, and I have been analyzing Nigerian economy, whether it is PDP or APC,
right,
and we try as much as we can to say the little we understand on the working of the economy.
But let me ask you this: what would be the possible implication of the continuous borrowings to fund budgets in the country?
Omofe, household continue to borrow for consumption. Some household borrow for investment. It depends on the angle you borrow money for. Some borrow and then destroy the household.
But we were not borrowing for consumption, are we?
The X2 budget of last year, we borrowed consumption to put in the palliative. So we should be more careful, and that is why I say no, we don't borrow interest. We just share a bag of rice while we multiply in the next coming 4, 5, 6, 7, 10 years, paying for it. Instead, you invest in agriculture. When you invest in agriculture, you have increased food production. Look at what transpired a few days ago. Indian Prime Minister with the President discussing food security. And in food security, China, India, this great nation with the highest population in the world. Nigeria has the highest black population in the world. So we share common things, but we don't share common values. The values of software in China and India is prosperity. Ours here is something I cannot comprehend quickly. But what I am emphasizing is that if India, with over 1 billion people, can feed its population and still have reservation for export to other economies, we can have that capacity. But what are the secrets of Indians to feed themselves? Security is first.
All right. It's beginning to look like the year 2025 is going to be, let's say, maybe themed a year of, taxation or high taxes, if you like.
Yeah.
What does that spell, for businesses, small, medium,
No. It's the angle at which you look at it. High taxes, like I said, I am not far from the understanding of Ibn Khaldun. Small tax rates will take you to a higher status. High taxes will destroy you, and there is no any magic anywhere where you put a lot of taxes and you encourage consumption, because high taxes reduces consumption. And that is why, like I said, Manufacturing Association of Nigeria complained good worth over 2.1 trillion destroyed. I witnessed one in one of the in one supermarket. The production date is to expire in the next 1 week, and I saw over 1,000 pieces of that production. So these are some of the issues about high taxes reducing consumption.
All right. Well, we have a number of messages here. This one says, "Good morning, Omoife and economic analyst in the studios. Please, are we not mixing things up? Those budgets truly translate to better life for Nigerians?" I will say no, because there was a time when budget was delayed and people paint a lot of analysts. I'm really finding it difficult to get sense of what you're saying. That the analysts are responsible for inflation, or that it is responsible for inflation, and when the budget was eventually passed, it made no difference. We have to understand macroeconomics as relatively to budgetary allocation is mere administrative. All right. While macroeconomics are relatively to relatively or budget has to do with the life of the ordinary Nigerian. In turn, no matter the amount being budgeted, it has never trickled down to better life for ordinary Nigerians. So where is this money going? I think we should note this economy dichotomy. Nigeria government need to understand how yearly budget is not reaching the grassroots. That's why people are suffering. Inflation is higher. We need a budget that can go down to the grassroots. Abbas reporting from Dutse. Abbas, I hope I got your message correctly, because it was really very difficult to get sense of the point you tried to make there. And this one, Uche from Central Area says, "Good morning, Omoefe. Good morning to your guest." This is Uche from Central Area. Budget and budgeting in Nigeria can be best described as mere rituals every year, because there are never any outlines for achieving the stated objectives. The irony of it all is why Nigerians are inundated with the humongous sum. The impact on ordinary citizens almost zero. Unlike people-oriented budgets are made and implemented, particularly in these trying period, we will continue to see budgets as mere projections without commensurate impact platforms. This is Uche from Central Area. Uche, thank you for that message. So because of time, I'll just like you to react to these, observations and then wrap up your thoughts.
Mr. Uche, you have said it very, very conveniently. But let me tell you, household budget. If you want to understand Nigerian budget, you understand your budget at home. I want to buy you a bicycle by December. When I got that money, that is exactly budget. Now, in that December, it is an obligation for you, if you get the money to buy the bicycle, you have settled that. Government in Nigeria are putting so much resources, and they are not putting it in places where it will be implemented to the fullest.
All right.
That is exactly the scenario.
Okay.
And that is why we said, if you want to understand budget, check budget under under Sani Abacha, for instance, the PTL, 22 naira to be removed to form part of the funding process of PTF, and PTF execution jobs from hospital to education to manufacturing. If we can do that in the main MTF, then definitely, if it is properly monitored without too much intervention, then we are going to succeed.
All right. Well, usually I must tell you a very big thank you for always, coming on here to analyze these, issues for us, so we all can get sense of what is, obtainable beyond, the news stories that we hear on radio and TV. Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you.
We've been assessing the proposed national budget of 47.9 trillion naira for 2025. Of course, observations are still pouring in, but we'll keep our fingers crossed to see how things would actually pan out in the days to come. And sincere apologies, we couldn't take calls on the show this morning, and that's because we're having a little bit of technical issues with these lines right here, but we can assure you that all of that has been sorted out as at the moment. I'd like to state that the views expressed by my guest and I think two callers earlier, or one, were not influenced by Eagles FM 102.3 Abuja